Hello everyone, long time no see. This is Rune signing into the lands of Shadow. It's been a minute since I've done a whole feature complete video. See, this Elden Ring DLC happened, and I don't know about you, but I've been playing a lot of it. So much in fact, I've completed nearly 4 builds, or actually, I have completed 4 builds, thinking about a 5th one right now. But only done Consort Radahn one time. This marks the moment I feel like I can actually take a minute to breathe and appreciate this expansion and my experience in it so far. It hasn't been perfect. I would have liked to see another more interesting DS2 style arena added, updates to the old ones, invasion covenants, etc. But if you're looking for a creator in the pessimist PvP camps, you won't find that here. Go watch an Emotional John video. I'm subscribed to him too. See, in Dark Souls 3, I always really appreciated voices like Saint and Dang It JM, and while I'm not comparing myself to that caliber, I want to be a similar force in Elden Ring. As Bernal said, "But know the path you walked is blasphemy, and leads only to a miserable death. Before you consider hunting any of your own kind, think on that." People who have been invading for a really long time know that a lot of this is not as rewarding as it should be. The reason we do it isn't because it's rewarding, it's because it's challenging and fun. And I just want everyone to always remember that. We may not always get what we would most desire out of From Software for this, but it is fun, and that is the main reason we do it, so never let go of that. Alright, apologies for the preaching start of this video. I wanted to include just a couple of jolly co-op sessions through Midra's Manse, one of the best zones in the Shadowed Lands for atmosphere and invasions on both sides. I like doing this from time to time because I like playing with friends, and also I like to get a general vibe for kind of what's going on with reds and invaders in the greater community, see what kind of tactics are out there. And despite a lot of the Ouroboros cheese, although it's not really just his fault entirely, I've been pleasantly surprised to at least moderately surprised. It's been fun and hasn't really felt nearly as oppressive as people have said it is. One thing I will say is the spam is definitely there. While it's not the scariest thing you'll face from the DLC, I can feel in the Force the constant L2 tapping every time I fight someone using Mesmer's Spear. And I'm still learning to dodge the Spear AoE at the end. I always forget that that's going to pop out of the ground. That and the infestation of the graceful hopping Great Sword of Damnation toads are the most noticeable cheese that you're going to see and have to deal with. Also, shout out to the red here in a second, Longblade Luna. We got several invasions in Midra's Manse, and this was by far the best. I really enjoyed this person's playstyle and build. Just a really, really fun fight. This is kind of the whole reason I like to do co-op with friends, because I like to get into good fights with reds when possible. It's just an extremely fun thing to do. Despite the fact that they were using the Ranker bow, my host was shooting jar cannon shots at them the entire time, so we're just going to call that part even. There is a very small chance that this person will ever see this video, but if they do, just know I really enjoyed this fight, and I want to say at the end, the host pointed down at you, that was certainly not warranted, so just know that, and I'm going to go ahead and let this play out, and we'll continue in a second. Alright. Right about now, when I fell off, I was trying to remember if there was a way to advance in the level besides climbing up the ladder behind me, which would have just been pretty much death, I think, against that Ranker bow. I was thinking maybe I could open the door behind me or hit the painting, but I didn't know if I, as a phantom, could actually do either of those things. And I was pretty sure up ahead there's not a way to move forward. I think you have to move, or there's a lever or something that opens up a bookshelf to jump across above you to where Nanaya is. So I was trying to think, okay, if I want to advance and not just kind of camp down here, where do I go? And I couldn't really figure it out. So I might need a little bit more time to figure that out moving forward. Because if we're in like a Tanner's Tongue session, which my friends definitely like to do the Tanner's Tongue piece, I like to keep moving. And fortunately enough for me, they do as well, although they are somewhat gankish sometimes. Not to the point of like camping at a grace and being annoying, but I don't know, I was just trying to move this along, and I felt kind of bad that the invader, that Longblade Luna, had to just come down here and fight us in this room, but I couldn't really see a way to get out, so there is that. Alright, we're going to do a cool montage and talk about this build a little bit. So this started as the red main build I created back before the DLC. In the video I showcased with a really long invasion on the stairway leading to the outer wall of Lane Dell, where the duo Erdtree Sentinels are located, right before there's like 8 seeds of the Golden Tree inside the outer curtain wall. It's literally just a strength build with a little bit of faith, even though I always refer to it as a strength faith build. Let me tell you how happy I was with the options for this character on my first playthrough. As you can see though, I found the 2 Death Knight axe weapons, and the rest is pretty much absolute history. I really like both of these, with a caveat on the twin axes, but I will be talking about those a little bit later on. For now, let's focus on the Death Knight long haft axe. My beauty, my love, and my favorite weapon in the DLC. Hilariously, its ash doesn't really work as well as the twin axes for what I'm trying to do with it, until it works way better. Confused? I don't know why. So anyone who caught my brief invasion/DLC impressions video from a couple of weeks ago knows this is a build that's called the Sable Cross, or at least they heard the move is called the Sable Cross. I've just kind of changed the whole build to the Sable Cross. Handy for the crosses of Mikola that have been added into the Lands of Shadow, with some more lore flavor that I have included that will also be discussed later on. A lot of things to be discussed later on. Sorry, my dog is moving in the background and settling. But the main origin of this name comes from the setup combo of Spin Sweep on the Greatsword into the Blink Bolt Death Knight Twin Axes Ash of War. This works really well because it forces people to who are in the knockdown animation to roll well or get hit by it before they can heal. Most likely doing a ton of damage total, to even more likely just killing them outright. It's an extremely efficient and surprisingly fun method to whittle down phantoms, be they blue or otherwise. I really wanted to make this work with the long haft axe though. While it doesn't have the consistency of combo synergy like the twin axes, it does far more damage and allows me to be very aggressive with flash punishes. Both blink bolts can be paused before the R2 follow-up to try to mind game players, and will hit people in the flash drinking animation for something akin to like 1000 plus damage. Not only that, if the main follow-up misses, that's the R2 after the blink bolt, there's a little lightning strike, like on the lightning slash Ash of War, that can stun players long enough for an added R1. So if they hit the follow-up, if the follow-up lands the actual R2 after the blink bolt, they're eating like 1000 plus damage. If that doesn't hit, that lightning bolt will hit for like 300, 200, more likely a little bit plus of 300 damage, and then an R1 for like 500. So that's like 800 damage, which is still pretty significant. I feel like I've kind of come full circle now with soft swapping. To this build, as you can tell, the main thing is the Greatsword soft swap into one of those 2 axes. At one point in time, I had fully divested myself of the idea that I would ever use soft swaps again. But now with this playstyle, they've really come back full circle. Hard swapping now on this character is largely for specific situations, and when I want to trick people who are expecting one Death Knight Ash or the other. And when I say specific situations for basic hard swapping, when I'm just coming across a player or a playstyle where the main combo isn't working, like people just aren't falling for it, or I'm dealing with someone who has light rolls or just spamming magic and like zipping away, then I'll consider switching to like a different weapon. Or if I face someone using Swift Slash, or someone who's using something akin to like Blind Spot, I might put on something a little bit more mean to deal with those things. I think soft swapping gets kind of a bad rap. You shouldn't be having like 6 different weapons. You see those people like cycling through like 3 weapons at a time on both hands. That's too much. But if you have like 2 weapons you want to soft swap on, and maybe a couple of different, seals or sorcery staffs for whatever reason, I think it's fine. Just don't rely on it, and just be mindful that it doesn't, kind of become your whole build. Learning to hard swap, I think, can be a very useful thing for invaders. So as long as you're not, again, completely just doing everything soft swap, I think it's fine. It's important to note that the Death Knight Long Haft Axe has the same moveset as the Axe of Godric and the Crescent Moon Axe. And by that I mean the really great R2 that kind of slides across the ground as you throw it. It's a really, really good roll catch, also a great turn and burn. The fact that this weapon has that moveset on it is chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, just incredible. I love it all the more for it. We've been doing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie with this Ghost Flame Dragon here in the Invasion, and I put Fortisnax's OST in the background, and we're going to talk a little bit about some lore for a minute. So the Death Knights are intimately tied with Godwyn. We know that from their armor. They are his personal guards in life. Each boss fight shows one of the cadaver faces of Godwyn as the backdrop of their arena, and their armor states that they've been questing for his cadaver surrogate. I've read some people taking this to mean that Godwyn was supposed to take the same arc in the DLC before he was retconned and replaced with Radahn for some reason, but I don't think that's really what's happening here. The second part of the Death Knight armor clearly states this is for the Age of the Dustborn, which is an ending already established in the base game. Via's questline as the Deathbed companion involves her gathering the warmth from several incredibly strong champions, including the Tarnished, several times. Combined with gathering the 2 Hallowbrands to create... Post-editing Rendon here, I said something stupid like Mending Cure of Death. What I meant to say here was Mending Rune of Death. Alright, we can go back to the original stuff now. Via's dialogue pretty explicitly states that the rune is the child and new life created from her lane with Godwyn. It may even be the new life of Godwyn himself. I'm going to get y'all to put on your speculation tinfoil hats with me for a second, though, and we're going to take this just a little bit further. Ranni died in flesh and Godwyn spirit, dividing what should have been a whole rune of death into 2. Combining these and bringing them to Godwyn should give him a final true death. I think that's what it's hinting at here. Again, Via's dialogue and the Mending Rune hint at this really, really heavily. Okay, come back to the Death Knights. They're hunting for Godwyn's cadaver surrogate for the Age of the Dustborn. These guys are looking for another body to house Godwyn's spirit in the coming age, which means they're pretty confident it's going to happen. When I finally figured this out, I put the Oathseeker helm on the Sable Cross and made him an Oathseeker Knight for Godwyn, the first promised Golden Lord within Death. You still don't get what I'm doing. I made him a Gravelord servant for the first Golden Lord of Death himself, and I think that was pretty cool. Maybe not exactly lore accurate, but in my headcanon, it's neat. I like it. You may be wondering about some of the other weapons that I've had on this character. They're tangential, but they're still absolutely there. So, a couple things that I found in the DLC that I really liked. First, I think, and one of the first things a lot of people come across was the Knight in the Solitary Jail, the Knight of Solitude that had the Great Sword of Solitude and the Solitude set. I really like the Great Sword of Solitude. It's not the best weapon ever in the DLC, but I think it's... you don't really see it with a lot of people besides when the game kind of first came, the DLC, I'm sorry, first came out. And I think it's because there's just a lot of light show weapons and other weapons that just kind of really outclassed it or outshined it really fast. Obviously, the backhand blades are kind of the star of the show right now for people because they just do so much damage, and things like Blind Spot and Swift Slash on them are just kind of nuts. But I think the Great Sword of Solitude is a really, really solid, no pun intended, maybe a little bit of pun intended, weapon. The Ash of War on it is pretty good. First of all, it does a lot of damage on strength scaling. It's very, very good for that. But the Ash of War, you can land both pretty easily without issue. For people that are a little bit more savvy about what it is and dodge it, you can kind of feint with it. You can pretend to whiff or throw the first part of the Ash in a different direction, and when they think that you're just going to whiff the entire Ash of War, you can pivot the second part of the Ash. That's like the running like heavy slash that knocks people back. You can turn that in any direction you want to. So if you throw the moon slash in one direction, and then a host, phantom, whoever, both comes to attack you when they think that you've whiffed it entirely, you can hit them with the follow-up of the Ash and knock them over, and then you're in a prime spot to kind of reverse the aggression and really, really go after both of them. So it's good for that reason. I think that people don't talk about that enough. The fact that you can omnidirectional that part of the Ash is great. I think it's awesome, and I really, really like the weapon. Blink Bolt on Milady is a really cool option as well that a player named No Name Tryhard showed me how to use. I really like that setup. It's very, very fun. Using the Falks, the weapons, the curved swords that Hornsent gives you for that little bit of chase down into the R2 spam is great. Horned Warrior Sword. I hate the weapon itself. I love the weapon art for people who are camping, staying in rooms, or not progressing. It's great for that. And lastly, Freya's Greatsword, which is a curved greatsword. Man, that is one of the best scaling strength curved greatswords ever. And with that kill right there, we're going to talk about the Death Knight Twin Axes again. I said we'd come back to it, and here we are. So I really don't like the Twin Axes. I don't like the Twin Axe moveset. I haven't liked any Twin Axe moveset. There's just not a fun moveset. Dark Souls 3 had the Winged Knight Twin Axes, and that was really fun. If that moveset had made it onto these weapons with that little running L1, that was kind of like a forward momentum, like side slash in the same direction, I'd be all about these things. But as it stands, I hate how they work right now. So more often than not, I'll use them as part of the combo. So I'm not really using them besides that. It's just a follow-up for when I knock people down. If I do use them, I'm using one axe, right? One hand axe, which is actually pretty good now, and I like that moveset a lot. But besides that, I'm just not really a huge fan, which is a shame because they could have really had the opportunity to make something cool with these. On the weapon itself, the Ash of War, the Blink Bolt into the Twin Axe little spin. This is a super consistent way to finish off Phantom's hosts, whoever. But I've heard a lot of people say that it's a little bit cheesy, it's hard to roll out of. These people have not played enough with it or played against it enough. All you have to do, right, if I hit you with the Greatsword combo, if I knock you down with the Spin Slash, all you have to do after I do that is roll to the side. Run a little bit away, roll to the side, just roll well, and I'm going to miss you with it. But if you roll badly, or if I hit you with the Sweep Slash, or anything else that knocks you down like this, and you roll backwards like this guy does, you're dead. But you just roll well, it's fine. People that are spamming that, you can just run away from it. Again, I think how I'm using it is probably the best way to use it, is a follow-up to a knockdown or something else that stuns a player, where they have to react real quickly and they have to make a snap decision. And if they don't make the right decision, then they're kind of screwed. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, I don't think these weapons are that good. I don't think their Ash is that good. I think the Blink Bolt Ash of War itself, you can put on different weapons, is far better. And I also think that the Long Haft Axe Blink Bolt is actually better, even though it can be rolled out of. If they roll badly, they're taking and eating a ton more damage. So I think this weapon has its place. Its Ash of War has its place, but it's not my favorite. It's pretty good, but it's not my favorite on it. And with that, that is the first full build I have made and made a video about for Shadow of the Erdtree. And man, was it a fun build. The only negative thing about this build is that I couldn't use a lot of the face spells that I wanted to that were like Death Knight themed for this, because it just didn't have enough faith on the character. It's pretty much purely a strength build. So I've made something to kind of alleviate that. I'm looking forward to that build. That'll be very, very fun to kind of get the other side of this. I also have 2 other builds, so 3 besides this one in total that I can't wait to start invading on. I have started some invasions on them, and they're pretty fun, but overall I'm really, really enjoying my time in Shadow of the Erdtree. It's been a phenomenal DLC. I know it didn't address everything, and I know that some people are disappointed that From Software didn't add in a lot of the things the PvP community really wanted. I, as you can tell, am a member of that community, so I share your frustrations. I think the only difference is that I tend to err, again, a little bit more on the positive side of things, and really enjoying what we did get as opposed to what we didn't get. Now, that's not to say that doing things like sending in support tickets for bugs, glitches, broken weapons isn't absolutely necessary. Of course it is. I know a ton of content creators that do stuff like that all the time, and I have enormous respect for them. Not just because of that, because of who they are. I've just seen enough negativity spread through YouTube videos, through forums, everywhere, to just want to make sure that it's actually productive rather than just pointless and for the sake of just being negative. If we want a really healthy long-term community to really continue for the PvP scene in this, we have to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. We have to make sure that it's always at least somewhat productive. And that's really all I have to say about it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you were getting something out of Shadow of the Erdtree. And if it's a weekend, weekday, whatever this is, I hope you're doing well. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay.